We are indeed living in the last days, and we have been covering so many signs of the times that tell us that it is not business as usual, and the good news of all, that Jesus is coming again. One of the signs of the times that Jesus gave to his disciples had to do with country living. I would like to share with you an article that came out just a few days ago. Notice what it says here. It says from Newsmax Health, study says living in noisy neighborhoods can do what? Can cause heart attacks. That was November 6, 2018. Let's pause there for a moment. So this article tells us living in noisy neighborhoods, in a city dwelling area, it can cause what? Heart attack. And that's exactly what we have been counseled in this last day. God's people have been counseled not to do. That means not to dwell in a city, noisy dwelling area. Now, God is allowing these things to come out in the news to confirm what he had already said through the writing of Sister White, through the Bible itself. Notice with me what Jesus says in the book of Matthew chapter 24, beginning in verse 32. Matthew chapter 34, beginning in verse 32. Here is what Jesus says. Now learn a parable of the fig tree. When his branch is yet tender, and putteth forth leaves, ye know that summer is nigh. So likewise, ye, when ye shall see all these things, know that it is near, even at the doors. Christ is even at the doors. When we are seeing all of these things, as we have been looking at calamities, and as we have been looking at commotion within the government of the world, within nature, and uprising all around us, a famine, pestilences, war, and all of these things. When you see all of these things, know that summer is nigh. We have been counseled to watch and pray and work to look at the signs of the times. We should not be children of the night. We should be children of the day. As we see the signs developing, as we see these things happening, we must take the next step. And what is the next step in these last days? Well, God once again is allowing God's people who should have known better, who should have been in a country dwelling right now, to be enlightened, to be educated now by the world. Notice with me, notice what Sister White says here. She says, out of the cities has been my constant advice, but it has taken years for our people to become aroused to an understanding of the situation. It has taken years for them to realize that the Lord would have them leave the cities and do their work in the quiet, emphasis on the word quiet there, in the quiet of the country, away from the what again? Turmoil. And what's the next word? Noise and confusion. Again, similarly, that's what we just read from this article from Newsmax Health. Let's go back to the article again. Notice what it goes on to say. Living in noise, saturated neighborhoods might be more than simply annoying. It can increase your risk factors for serious health problems, including heart attack, heart disease, and stroke. Chronic noise from traffic in airports appears to trigger the amygdala, a brain region critically involved in stress regulation. Brain scans have revealed noise. What's the word again? Noise is also associated with increased inflammation of the arteries, which is a risk factor for stroke, heart attack, and heart disease. So the article specifically mentioned noise. I wonder if this research was based on what we just read. Let's go back to the screen again. Again, Sister White says here, middle part of this quote, it has taken years for them, that's God's people, to realize that the Lord would have them leave the cities and do their work in the quiet of the country, away from the turmoil, and here comes the word again, and noise, and what else? And confusion. That's exactly, again, what this article just told us here. That if you live in the city where there are a lot of noise, that could lead to stroke, to heart attack. Notice, same article goes on to say, the findings showed that people exposed to chronic noise had a greater than threefold risk of suffering a heart attack, stroke, or other major cardiovascular event compared with people who had lower levels of noise exposure. That risk remained elevated even after the researchers accounted for other risk factors such as air pollution, high cholesterol, smoking, and diabetes. So you notice how deep this study, this research went into, that even these other subjects or health-related problems like diabetes, air pollution, you cannot compare these things based on what the article is telling us here. You cannot compare. These things cannot even come close, if I were to put it in some other way. Compare close, or cannot come close to living in an environment that is polluted with noise and lots of people. This reminds me of Lot and his family dwelling in Sodom and Gomorrah. It was never God's will for Lot to make his dwelling there. But notice with me what Peter says about Lot. Keep in mind the word noise there. 2 Peter 2, beginning in verse 6, and turning the cities of Sodom and Gomorrah into ashes, condemned them with an overthrow, making them an example unto those that after should live ungodly. Verse 7, and delivered just Lot. Notice the next few words there. Vexed with the filthy conversation of the wicked. Let's pause. The filthy conversation of the wicked, we can replace that or apply that to noise. This constant noise, this type of worldly conversation. Well, they didn't have vehicles back then, but their donkeys, their horses, they're probably making too much noise, honking, and all of these things. Back to the screen. It says in verse 8, for that righteous man, that's Lot, dwelling among them in the city, in seeing and what's the next word? Hearing, vex his righteous soul from day to day with their unlawful deeds. So he was constantly being bombarded by the noise, by all of these things that he would hear from the city, in Sodom and Gomorrah. So you see the reason why God does not want his people to dwell within the cities. It's not just because of the plagues, the calamities, and crimes, but it also has a lot to do living in a populated area where the air would become very bad compared to a country mountain dwelling, and also with the noise all around you, which according to the article again could lead, and Sister White says that, could lead to health issues. Notice with me what Sister White says here. The whole system is demoralized by the hurry and rush, and what's the next word? Noise. The Lord desires his people to move into the country where they can settle on the land and raise their own fruit and vegetables, and where their children can be brought in direct contact with the works of God in nature. Take your families away from the cities is my message. Again, you see the relationship there. You see how Sister White was ahead of her time. And that was through the inspiration of God. God is a wise God. He knows everything. Now, I must pause here and insert something here. I know there are some, based on my conversation with them, I know there are some who have this passion in their heart. They want to follow the Lord. They want to do the right thing, to leave the city and go into a country place. But some of them do not have the means. They don't know how to go about doing that because of financial situation or because they are all alone. Now, I am reaching out to some Seventh-day Adventists who are able to help out, even to bring in one or two families with you. If you live, if you have a bigger dwelling place, because the time is at hand. Learn the parable of the fig tree, Jesus says. When its branch is yet tender, ye know that summer is what? Is nigh. Everything that we have today, we must dedicate it to the Lord and to help His people in these last days. Notice with me another article here. Volume 1 of manuscript releases, 248. The end is what? Is near. And every city is to be turned upside down. Every way. There will be confusion in where? In every city. Everything that can be shaken is to be shaken. And we do not know what will come next. The judgments will be according to the wickedness of the people and the light of truth that they have had. And this judgment does not exclude Seventh-day Adventists. Because if you read the latter part carefully of what we just read here, back to the screen, it says the judgments will be according to the wickedness of the people and the light, keywords there, and the light of truth that they have had. Have we been receiving the light of the truth? Have we been counseled on what to do in these last days? We've also been counseled to help others as the Lord opens the way, to help our brothers and sisters in these last days. So God is showing once again, is allowing the world to show His people who have not been taking heed of what time it is. Let's close again with what Jesus says. Now learn a parable of the fig tree. When his branch is yet tender and putteth forth leaves, ye know that summer is nigh. So likewise, verse 33 tells us, ye, when ye shall see all these things, know that it is near, even at the doors. Brothers and sisters, the Lord Jesus Christ is even at the door, knocking on the door of our heart to get ready, and get ready, and might I add one more time, and stay ready. God bless.